open session. So
this remains confidential, or can we release the name, but not the?
we can't.
I think
She doesn't want her name released.
Ms. Dombrowski has granted that it need not be confidential except as the actual script until a written opinion.
Okay,
So
I
she-
just want to make sure because
And,
we've kind of already let the cat out of the bag to a certain extent,
Mhm.
but as long as that's okay with. Yeah, all right.
Well, now that we're in open session, Chair
Yes.
Silver, I'm going to move that the board finds that
So do we have to go back to the original two votes?
025,
That's what he's doing.
025 4C, section 025 4C from the Ethics Code does apply,
I foresee.
I4C does apply to assembly persons.
You have to add the other part. To 035.
Oh,
Relative to.
Via 035 and
5.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Second.
the same motion.
Yeah.
And we're doing this
We needed
again,
to
so
do
I
it.
second.
We're doing it officially.
Right, so I'll
Same
second.
motion,
Second
which
motion.
includes the addition that you put in.
Yeah, so second
Good.
motion, call a vote.
Call the vote. Any opposed? One opposed.
No, you're opposed?
I was
To
opposed the first time.
No,
No, this is the
code-
subsection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
applies.
I retract my opposing vote.
Keep
Yeah.
up.
It's
Keep
in
up.
the-
all those
Keep up,
votes.
Steve.
Yeah. I'm in
All
favor.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? No opposed.
Okay.
So the next motion is Mr. Kelly.
Chairman Silver, I move that the board finds that an assembly person using their official title as assembly person
Alone.
in a campaign, in a partisan campaign activity is not necessarily in violation, alone is not necessarily in violation of 025 I4C.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Do we have the same vote we had before? Yes, that would be 3-2 in favor.
No, it was
I was
3-4
4 to
no.
1.
He voted in favor of it.
No, you mean for,
No, it was.
That was 4-1.
It was 4 to,
Yeah.
you were the
Yeah,
one.
I was,
Right,
yeah.
whatever, okay.
But we can change it.
but, you know, and I would like
It
to.
doesn't change the net
Speaking of
result.
that, you know, if we didn't agree to that, it would be difficult for someone running for the second time. They couldn't say, you know, vote for me, Assemblyman Ted Carlson. You know, and so you couldn't do that. And so it stands to reason to be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, next question.
I move that the board finds that, specifically speaking, that the two scripts that have been provided by Assemblyperson Dombrowski, that both are acceptable in light of Municipal Code 025 I4C.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that the two scripts we're abbreviating today are acceptable. Any opposed? Okay, we have a 3-2 on that. The motion carries. Those of you in the audience, I appreciate your indulgence. These things never
Thank
take
you.
as fast as we like them to. Yes.
And another suggestion in terms of the next matter that we take up and scheduling is one of the matters that needs to go to the Assembly ASAP, and so we need to get something in, is notice of potential violation 2013-4, the LURSA issue.
Oh.
And
Does it have to in view of what happened?
well, no, I need to give the board an update
Okay.
on what has happened, and I am a little concerned that would the board be sort of in agreement with what's gone on so far? And I'm trying to think, I think this would be open session because the findings are on the web. The chair of the Assembly and the co-chair, in response to the board's letter making recommendations and asking for this to go further, in fact, we're getting ready to move forward, and there was meetings with council about whether, you know, how that might be, and removal from office and termination of contract, all that type of thing. Just as the board, they were trying to move forward and make a decision, and of course, there's also a letter given to the mayor. The respondent resigned, handwritten, handed in his resignation.
Mhm.
And so he has resigned, and I did explain that at one point the board initially had tried to do that process where we invited him in. He pretty much acknowledged the facts of substantial financial conflict, had held a substantial financial interest, and would he withdraw, and at that point he would not withdraw. So now he has withdrawn. But if you read the language of the opinion, it's stronger than that. I mean, we had a second recommendation. I think that was fueled by his response to that early question. And so I'm concerned that when you read that language, that does the board find that there should be additional action? In addition to we'll ask the Assembly to accept the resignation, of course. This stuff will become public, but he is off the board. Does the board still seek additional remedies, namely the termination of the contract? And one of the things I think that has always been pointed out was that this contract has been in place for 10, 12 years. The problem was when this individual got on the board in 2011, and that's when all the conflict issues came up, and now that conflict at least has been addressed. So wanted to bring it back, and that may be a deliberative here again, but this is something we've got to move forward because it really needs to go. It's been a month, and we need to make a decision on this. May have to go back to deliberative session on the board's preference, or do they have any additional comments for the Assembly?
When does the current contract expire? Do you remember?
September
Of this year?
Of this year.
And they have to rebid it?
No, it would be. It could be a mutual, an option by mutual consent. So I guess with that, it may be that we need to move to go deliberative session. And again, I apologize to our audience, but we just have to take this matter up because it's due to go before the Assembly for this next meeting.
Okay.
What can we say outside of deliberative session? I mean, could I make a suggestion?
Let's hear it.
Sure, let's hear it.
Well, I think that the contract should just be rebid.
Dear God, not in open session.
Yeah. You know, and they could do it in September. I mean, we're getting close anyway. So.
Well, I was under the impression that we did our job at this, and we forwarded it to the Assembly. So now it's up to the Assembly.
As to whether or not to cancel.
Whatever action, if the guy resigns, he resigns, and if the Assembly is satisfied with that, fine. Or if they want to add the other thing that we had suggested,
That's a
why
good
should
point.
it
What more
come
work-
back to
Yeah.
us?
I tend to, I don't mean to be deliberating, but that's a good point. I mean, this is more of a procedural issue, I think, so it's not deliberative.
Yeah.
We did our job, we made a recommendation just
Right.
before the Assembly. My initial take on it would be that our letter shouldn't be amended simply because he satisfied one of the
Right.
No,
criteria.
that-
So it's,
It's,
I-
we did our
Would you
job,
have
our job
a
is
copy of
done.
the letter? Do we have
that,
Eight
Yeah,
A?
Yeah, I
he
know,
might
but-
be saying that the way the Assembly is understanding the letter is that resignation is enough, it's sufficient to more or less
Well,
close the matter. and
again, the
letter
whole Assembly has
suggested-
not heard this matter.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
but as a point of clarification, initially the board was satisfied with resignation, and then given some additional behaviors before the board, I think that then it led also to.
You mean the old white
termination.
guys?
And the
what, the bloodsucker?
I agree with Ted. It really is before the Assembly at this point. You've given your recommendation.
We did our job.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Pretty much.
so that's the
Well,
discussion. If the board,
Maybe
if-
we should, I hesitate, we might need to go into deliberative session.
Well, yeah, because we
Just
did our
because
job, but there has been a significant
Yeah,
development. He
that's
has
right.
resigned in the meantime.
And especially because you brought up the other issue about what our thinking was prior to him appearing. I'd like to talk about that briefly.
All right, I'm going to move we go into
I
deliberative session.
second, yeah.
With all due apologies to our
to-
audience.
Okay,
If you're
deliberative.
going to deliberative session, could I have a copy of the agenda so I know, because I don't have a copy of your agenda. I don't know exactly what's on it.
Sure.
Yes.
So I can see what it's still.
And I would say what happened today is our agenda is this big and we have time for this much, and so undoubtedly there'll be a special